Go on then, fade us out.
Yeah, let's just play it in.
Testing 1.
Testing 2.
Testing 3.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Testing Podcast. I still don't know whether we should actually use that theme tune or not, but we're like the gimmicks of our new toy in our new studio. But welcome back everyone, and thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, the novelty will wear off eventually, won't it? One day of pressing all these buttons.
No, it's not.
No.
They just load new ones up.
Yeah, silly noises.
Just let us know if it gets annoying.
Yeah. Cool.
How are you boys? You good?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. I just love being back in this space. It's so cool, isn't it?
It's proper nice.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant just having our own podcast studio, isn't it? With the neon lights and everything else.
Yeah, this is like home now, isn't it? We've got a place that we can call home. This is our little studio, and to welcome people to come and have a chat about fertility, and it's cool, isn't it? It's really cool what we've made. I think it will be a common topic of our podcast for the future. Is
that
us
we just
talking
love our
about
own studio.
Really, we're not really interested in record a podcast. We just want to sit and chat, don't we? But no, we've made a cool space.
Happy days, yeah. And also, we've just come back from, well, not that long ago, from our Edinburgh conference that we had.
Right.
We talked about that in the last episode that we recorded.
Yeah.
And that was mental, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, it blew my mind.
So busy, wasn't it? It was so busy.
Crazy.
Yeah, that space always is pretty mad for me, because like from like me as a patient, not any way scientific, although I really appreciate science. Whenever I listen to the lectures or hear people talk about all the things that are being researched over the last 12 months or longer, like it's just so incredible. I think the one that blew my mind the most, I didn't actually go into the lecture, but I managed to talk to a few people about it, was the research that's going on in space. And what they plan to do. And that's insane. That's like...
Oh, the one that blew my mind, and again, I only heard this secondhand, was the, I think it was the Siberian tiger.
Right.
That's been brought back from extinction from its DNA using IVF technology.
I remember you saying, that's insane.
Like, oh my God. Yeah. So like Jurassic Park, not in theory, it has actually happened. They've brought back animals from extinction.
So legitimately they've brought back an extinct tiger through...
No, it wasn't Siberian tiger, it was the Tasmanian tiger, I think, because it is the apex predator for Tasmanian devils, which are spreading viruses through all the vegetables and plant life.
So the kind of circle of life of having that back is kind of a good thing. It controls like the population of other like annoying species.
Mental.
It is. It's amazing technology, isn't it? Really, about how far we've come in science. To protect the species of going forwards. You know, so.
It is proper cool, isn't it? And like, not to forget, like all of this research that's going on. Testim is always formed on the latest research and developments in the space for our guys, our fellas that we're trying to support. But when you actually like sit there and see how many people turn up to this conference for an educational meeting to learn about all of the doings in the space fertility and what research is happening, for me, like with my patient hat on, like it's almost overwhelming that that's going on, because when you live your day-to-day life and you're going through treatment and you're experiencing those kind of like that hardship as a patient, there really is a huge amount of people working behind the scenes that you'll never have any idea of almost. No. That are doing their utmost best to make the best outcome for us all. And I guess what we're trying to do, we're trying to bring that research to our patients so people get the very best.
Yeah.
And I think what's fascinating is that when you go to those type of meetings, the Fertility 2024, how much research is actually going on in the background by, everyday fertility clinics that are out there. So, they're training the very best future embryologists and various other healthcare professionals that is coming through. But it's always about advancing that healthcare knowledge, and it's about advancing that clinical research, to improve things for the future. And it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And like when you do your semen analysis, I remember ticking the box, I think with our semen analysis and eggs and embryos, any surplus, there was like a box to say, can you donate this for research? And I always tick yes, but like there's no kind of feedback really as a patient of what actually happens to that. But it's so nice to actually kind of be on that side where I can kind of understand that
some scientific geek somewhere.
Yeah, there's someone doing something. Yeah, it's incredible. And like if we all contributed to that, then there's obviously more data that's available. There's more ways that we can actually understand life, I suppose.
Fertility clinics do a heck of a lot, but they don't actually really advertise that to their patients.
Yeah, big idea.
And often I've been into clinics, as a healthcare professional, I suppose, going in and seeing what's going on in the labs and so forth. And you do see in the background, in the staff rooms, the posters that they've presented on and various other things. So, maybe fertility clinics do need to sort of like, raise their bar and share it with
the way we do all of this.
By the way we do this. This is the future for the good of patients.
Because it's incredible. It really is, isn't it? It really is incredible. So.
I love it when we meet some of the researchy kind of type of people at these events. That there's a few that are heavily involved in developing our DNA frag service and work at the University of Kent. And their brains. I mean, and even our very own Professor Ralph Henkel.
Yeah.
You ask them a question and they go off on all sorts of tangents and it's
you
like,
almost,
whoa.
You almost sort of go like, I wish I'd asked that.
Yeah.
And
I'm just like,
off the wall.
what's for dinner tonight? What shall I cook?
I realise how quite basic I am as a human being when I turn up to these places, because their mind is just constantly thinking about what's the next thing they can do, isn't it? It's
must be exhausting for them, I think.
Yeah, it's exhausting enough looking at the data and trying to actually decipher what that data sometimes means, isn't it? It's they're creating this. Yeah. They're the ones that are creating that data sets to learn from. So proper cool. Yeah, it was a good experience at the BFS.
It's really good. Yeah, really good. Excellent. Took me a few days to recover, that's for sure. Get some sleep and what have you. But so today I wanted to talk about oxidative stress, because right now as we're recording, we've got a whole animation series going out on our Insta about it. It's one of those terms, I think, that's bandied around a lot. People hear about it, they know about it, and they know about antioxidants. But do they truly understand it? And do they understand what it means in terms of sperm health, what they can do about it? And so I thought we'd maybe debunk that in this episode.
Yeah, because it's quite a complicated term, so to speak, isn't it? Oxidative stress, like what really is that?
What is
like,
it, and how does it, what was the cause, what's the root cause of it, and how does it manifest itself, and what damage is it actually doing? So
so
it's
a
great topic, actually.
Yeah. So Michael, you're going to be our chief scientific officer here.
We're handing it to you, mate.
Again.
Crack on.
Yeah. Well, I can do it to a certain degree, but we can do it all between us. So what is oxidative stress?
Okay, so I think what we have to think about is what is going on in our bodies. So oxidative stress. If we think about some of the chemical reactions that's going on in our bodies, there is thousands of chemical reactions going on all of the time. And I think oxidative stress is where you've got an imbalance of what we call oxidants or oxygen-free radicals. And when they become in excess, they can create damage. They can have an impact on other cells, which either destabilizes them or makes them non-functional, or it can actually, cause severe damage and apoptosis, which is the breaking of cells in ultimate damage terms. So, and often what we see with oxidative stress is that there is an imbalance. If cells are frustrated and there's a chemical imbalance, we're not taking enough water in our bodies, and if we're not taking enough nutrients in our bodies, we can literally go into oxidative stress where there is not enough to combat it. And equally, if there is an imbalance the other way, we can cause reductive stress. And this is just generally the balance of these oxygen-free radicals, which are absolutely normal. We need them for everyday bodily functions. But when they become in excess, then it can destabilize the body and cause instability and damage.
Yeah, and because I've written a few articles about this, and obviously preparing the animations, they're cells that are missing an oxygen atom. Is that right?
Yeah. So sometimes you get too many oxygen element atoms, really, that are then causing issues.
Okay. Oh no, they're missing an electron. Is that right?
They're missing an electron.
That was it.
Yeah.
Oh, dearie me.
This is getting sciencey.
Yeah, this is going to get way
We're
too
going to go into
sciencey.
donors and all sorts of
so
things.
it's not oxygen, it's electrons. Right, my mistake. So yeah, they're cells that are missing an electron, and oxidative stress or free radicals are a result of metabolism, aren't they? So they're a result of us processing oxygen. So you can't avoid oxidative stress. It will happen just by being alive.
Yeah.
And so these cells, they're missing an atom, and I kind of imagine them as like little rogue cells because they go around nicking atoms off other cells, and that's how they do damage. And that, in effect, almost creates like a cascade, like an exponential growth, because as you get more ones that are kind of nicking cells, that cell then becomes unstable, and so it proliferates from there. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, electrons and atoms.
I say
atoms, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's like a turf war, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
But no, the principle is
Electrons.
exactly electrons. Yeah. So these are negatively charged, sort of atoms.
You can definitely tell I'm on the fringe of my understanding.
It's on
when I sit and write it out, it's fine. I get it. But
but that's the thing, though, isn't it? It is
this
quite.
is why it's confusing.
In that form, it is actually quite a complex thing. And I suppose it's quite hard to actually simplify what is really going on. But ultimately, what it does do, it degrades the quality of in our world. It degrades the quality of sperm, doesn't it? Because it's effectively breaking down.
Just nicking bits off the sperm, which makes them break down, not swim well, die early.
So really, fundamentally, I suppose, obviously we can provide a test that can measure how much someone has oxidative stress, how bad is their issue. But I think really the ultimate thing is kind of like what causes it, and generically what are the main causes of oxidative stress.
I think that's the most important part, really, is just identifying some of the background causes of why we have extra oxygen free radicals, and of course it could be related to diet, but also it can be related to infection. So what we know about infections is that you often have an increase of white blood cells, which are called leukocytes. And leukocytes, when they're activated, they actually produce reactive oxygen species, this ROS. And what that tends to do is to have an impact directly in the seminal plasma, so we can detect extra reactive oxygen species in the seminal plasma. And there's various methods of doing that. And then if there is high levels of reactive oxygen species, which shouldn't necessarily be there in the same concentrations as they are, that can have a direct impact on the sperm itself, because the sperm is one of the smallest cells in the body. I think we've described it before, but it's one of the most vulnerable ones to attack through its lipid membrane on the top of the head, which protects the DNA integrity. So if there is an excess of reactive oxygen species, it can have a direct impact on sperm, and then have a direct damage effect on the sperm integrity or the DNA integrity. So that's what we see, is that most of DNA fragmentation or damage is often caused by an excess of reactive oxygen species, and we can detect that in the seminal plasma.
Which are also known as free radicals. Those terms are interchangeable, aren't they? Yeah. Some people have heard of free radicals.
Yeah,
and then
oxygen-free radicals and reactive oxygen species are pretty much the same.
Yeah. The baddies.
The baddies.
Yeah.
Well, you need a certain amount for good, functionality.
Because these free radicals they have a role in good sperm production as well, don't they?
They do. They're very much involved with the normal sort of functional elements of sperm through its motility, for example. So just the general motility will create some reactive oxygen species, which is okay. But again, if there is too much reactive oxygen species in the seminal plasma, which is the substance which protects the sperm cells, then obviously the sperm cells can become damaged.
Yeah. And then subsequently makes someone less fertile. The potential is the fact that it makes them less fertile, doesn't it?
And you often see it as a result of lowered motility, for example. So you may have enough sperm concentration, but they're just not really swimming very well, or not in the right direction. So that could be as a direct result of infection, for example, or it could even have an impact even further down the chain of the actual production itself.
Yeah. And what are some of the other causes? So that was infection.
Was infection. So some of the other reasons why you sometimes get a high increase of reactive oxygen species in the seminal plasma is due to varicocele. So I think we've described varicocele a few times. Yep. So this is where you're getting heat scrotal stress or in the testicles. And that denatures the proteins and increases the amount of reactive oxygen species which is present in again the semen or the seminal plasma, which is having a direct impact on the sperm quality. Thereon.
And of course, when we've had Melanie Brown in here, we talked lifestyle and diet. That's got to be
it's a big topic for us.
It is. A key element in terms of oxidative stress, because I think the vast majority of people, if they're trying to conceive, they've usually jumped on the nutrition bandwagon, but there are still so many things that are just so easy to eat, and buy and drink and whatever. It's such a big part of our life, like processed foods, ultra processed foods, alcohol, caffeine. Well, a little bit of caffeine's okay, a little bit of alcohol's okay. But in terms of creating oxidative stress, that's quite a big factor, isn't it?
Yeah, again, just looking at some of those key things in nutrition and diet and drinking and so forth, Too much fizzy pop can cause an increase.
I love that they calls it fizzy pop.
Fizzy pop.
I don't know if you remember those little panda pop bottles.
Roller cola and all the rest of those. So, but yeah, fizzy pop, if you've got too much carbon dioxide and so forth, that can make an imbalance in that. Equally, you mentioned alcohol in excess.
That's a fizzy pop.
Or binging, often that's got carbonated drinks elements to that, and the body struggles to get rid of that naturally through the liver. So that has an increase of reactive oxygen species, which can have a direct impact on your sperm quality. And nutrition, if we're not having enough leafy greens and various other good quality, fruits, vegetables, and certain amount of meat, then we will have a lower amount of antioxidants from foodstuffs, which can combat increases in reactive oxygen species or free radicals in the body.
This sort of topic's always interests me, because like people that we've supported over the years, you quite often will say, yeah, but I know someone that drinks loads, smokes, is overweight, and actually they've had a child, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So and we're saying that obviously those sort of things are things that actually do have quite a detrimental effect in this realm. Are some people more susceptible to damage than others? I mean, is there research out there like that?
I think it's difficult to get that level of data.
Yeah.
Certainly, we know age is a compounding factor. So often age increases. Whilst age increases, we know that there is a higher level of DNA fragmentation, and it's possibly due to the fact that our metabolism slows down in older age, and we don't produce as much testosterone, for example. Our hormone balances change even as men, as you would expect in women. So there's a number of confounding factors, but we probably just don't absorb the same amount of nutrients from our diet, even if it's the same, as we grow older, as we were when we're a lot younger. So we don't. It's about our own metabolism struggles
so
with absorbing it into the body.
So you can still eat the same food, and this is that whole concept of you can eat the same food as you age, but you then put on weight because your metabolism's changed. And what you're saying is actually what we're doing. We're not absorbing those nutrients, so we're not getting the antioxidants in. Yeah. And if you're not eating well in the first place, you're not having your leafy greens and your veg and all that, then you're already on the
back foot.
And if we're deciding to have children later, obviously that's going to have an impact because our metabolisms are slowing down. Of course,
because when you're younger, it's far greater, isn't it? And this is exactly why on our portal that we ask these what seem really obvious and simple questions, because we kind of need to get to the bottom of understanding what that diet and lifestyle really is, because we know that it does actually have a direct impact on sperm health and ultimately fertility, doesn't it? So it's so important. And I think going back from my fertility journey and at my early days, I kind of laughed this off quite a lot. And it weren't until
most men do, don't they?
Yeah, it weren't until I met you actually, and you explained the importance of this that I kind of took note of it. Listening to Katie, I kind of was like, okay, another supplement kind of thing. But actually, it has a real relevance, doesn't it? It's so important because ultimately, all of these small things can make quite a big difference when it comes to a pregnancy and a healthy baby at the end of it. That's the ultimate goal, right?
And this is the thing for men, and I often say this to guys if I'm chatting to them, or if they've had a consult with me, it's like these are the easiest things you can do that they're free. They're potentially free or cost very little. It's good for your overall health anyway. It's going to be good for your sperm health, and it's going to you're going to see a result within a few months. Why wouldn't you?
And it's always about moderation, isn't it? It's about moderation. It's just about thinking about the extremes that you currently may be doing, and just tailoring it back a little bit and saying, actually, I will just I'll eat another carrot or I'll eat another piece of vegetable or, kale or whatever and introduce
watercress. It's got to be watercress if none of these listening.
Shout out to Mel.
Shout out to Mel.
I buy it more regularly now just because Mel always talks about it.
I
consciously go to the supermarket and I always think of Mel when I see watercress and I put it in the basket.
Just put it in the basket.
That's it.
Just call it watercress Mel.
Watercress Mel.
If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and have a listen.
Go back and listen to Mel.
Absolutely fantastic. The egg and sperm salad.
But it always reminds me, like this kind of concept always reminds me, back to motorsport really, is because in motorsport we're always looking for like 1% gains. Once you're at a level in competition, small margins and multiples of them make quite a big difference. It's quite hard to find, sometimes I'm looking for a 1/10 of a second in one corner. That is a tiny amount of time. But if I analyse everything and look at small gains, that 1/10 can become achievable. And I feel like this is kind of a similar analogy, is that if you look after the small things, it can add up to make a bigger difference. So that
Absolutely.
if you then still need IVF or ICSI or any further treatments, at least you're kind of giving yourself or the sperms the best chance by making them as healthy as possible. So for me, knowing what I know now, all this kind of stuff is just an absolute no-brainer. Understand if you've got oxidative stress. It's quite a simple procedure to have done, with semen analysis. And then if it is present, we've simply got antioxidants and a better lifestyle and diet. And then in 3 months, we would hope that there would be an improvement, right? And that's right. And it's again those tiny little things that can completely change the outcome of your life, really. I mean, that's what ultimately we're talking about.
Sorry.
I was going to say, well, let's geek out on the technology because we know you like the tech.
This is my background.
How is oxidative stress tested?
Okay, so there's two main routes that you could have a look at. You can have a look at a direct method, which is looking at the sperm through a light, so what we call chemical luminescence. And really what we're doing with that is looking at extracting the seminal plasma. We're putting some little dyes in the seminal plasma itself and then running it through a lightometer is the best way to describe it. And depending on the light that's emitted, you get these relative light fractions, and it will tell you how much of that seminal plasma is due to oxidative stress, or the level by the light. So that's one method. The other method is what's called oxidative reductive potential, and this actually uses an electrochemical test where the semen is put neat onto a little sensor strip. It's put into a machine, and it's literally measuring the voltage through the sensor of going through the seminal plasma. And what we're detecting there is, like we were describing earlier on, is the amount of electrons. Right. So the amount of electron transfer that's going on in the seminal plasma. And if it's over a certain level, it can be determined that it's in oxidative stress. And if it's in oxidative stress, then the potential of your sperm to fertilize eggs is a lot lower than that would be of a normal sample.
Wow, amazing!
So
little gadgets, isn't it?
Yeah. Cool, so there's two different methodologies. The second is far quicker and simple, and it's more recent technology than what's been available in the past.
And that's just done for semen analysis, isn't it?
That can be done exactly the same time and takes less than 5 minutes to actually perform in the lab.
So you can do semen analysis. You can do your ORP, oxidative stress kind of test.
Yep.
And within a few minutes, you know that you don't have enough antioxidants in your body and you've got oxidative stress and you need to change something and do something about it.
It could well be that there's a lack of antioxidants, but clearly it may also signal that there could be other underlying conditions. It could be these varicocele patients, for example. It could be these patients with infection. So it's not necessarily just coming from diet or exposure to various other elements. So that's the next sort of thought process is, where is it coming from? If we find it, we know it's going to cause damage. Where is it coming from and what can we do about it?
Yeah, because otherwise it's kind of like searching for a needle in a haystack. You don't know where to look. But with that equipment and understanding that value, it gives consultants direction to start looking in certain places, right? Because obviously if there's something that's flagged up, it makes everything just easier to understand what's the next best step, isn't it? And we always say, don't we, knowledge is power in this space. And what is relatively a simple test, it's not non-invasive, it's just an easy thing to have done. And quite quickly you can build a better picture for better diagnosis potentially.
That's it.
And thus an outcome that is preferential. It's just so cool because that device is like, it just blows my mind that happens. It's incredible.
It's a really small device, and it's like,
and it's relatively quick. As it can be done exactly the same time as a standard diagnostic semen analysis, but it's giving extra information to the physician about what could be going on. And then it's up to the physician really to try and tease out what is going on with the patient, whether it's lifestyle, whether it could be a physical examination that they've not had, for example. Have they had an ultrasound test on the testicles to see if there is a varicocele or are there any other testicular issues that's going on? Or is it a sign of infection? Have they had an infection? And that may need to be screened out through a blood test and be treated through a course of antibiotics, for example.
And did we say the name of that test? Because Myoxis is the name of the machine or the company that provides that test.
Myoxis is the machine, really. So, and the test is really a sperm oxidative stress test, an SOS test, sometimes called, or an oxidative reductive potential test. So that's in its more sort of scientific sort of name.
Yeah, that sounds super sciencey.
It's to ORP. We call it ORP, but the easiest way is an SOS test. It's a sperm oxidative stress test.
And actually, I've been working through some data and slides from our wonderful Professor Ralph Henkel, and it's like, well, this is hard to compute. And like, I asked him to send me some data because I wanted to work out some percentages because they weren't on the bar graphs.
Yeah.
And he sent me the spreadsheet of the data, and I was like, nope, I can't. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea what this means.
Spider wave.
Yeah. But the bar graphs are really clear.
Yeah.
And what we see with ORP, and you can do this with ORP and DNA fragmentation or DNA fragmentation, and what you see is a significant drop in fertilization rates, blastulation, so does the embryo make it to blastocyst, implantation rates, and live birth rates.
The ultimate figure, right?
Yeah, the ultimate figure. Yeah, the others do matter, but at the end of the day, we want a baby. You want a healthy baby.
Yeah.
So we know, we've seen data, we've got research that shows a high ORP is linked to lower all of those.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's quite shocking,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a simple test.
Yeah,
you know?
it is.
So,
Yeah, and it's what's called direct correlation. Direct correlation of damage. So the higher the oxidative stress level, the ORP, the lower the chance of conception.
Yeah, crazy. So then, obviously, we've mentioned antioxidants. So now, see if I can remember this right. They have an extra electron. Is that right?
They are a donor, yeah.
Yeah, phew. So yeah, antioxidants are...
Ian's been doing his homework.
Yeah. I've written so many bloody articles and animations about it.
Yeah.
So antioxidants have an extra electron. So they're wandering around with a spare one. And hey, like, these are the good boys and girls. Like, yeah, we've got a spare one. So when a free radical comes along and says, oh, I'll have that, and nicks it off them, actually you then neutralise the problem, don't you?
Yeah. You're actually naturally reducing the overall oxidative stress and creating balance again.
Yeah.
From where it was.
And this is why antioxidants in your diet are so important, because it allows that balance to happen.
That's right.
So then we get onto the world of supplements and antioxidants. So some people think, okay, well, look, I'll just drown myself in supplements. And honestly, I had a guy recently send me a list of what he was taking, and I passed it on to Melanie Brown just to get her opinion, because I was like,
she was going like, oh no.
She was. Again. I mean, I pretty much knew as soon as I saw it,
Yeah.
but I was like, okay, let's get a professional to look at this. And she's like, oh my god, this is way too much.
Yeah.
Like it was even his morning routine was pretty high, and then he did it all again in the evening. It's like, wow, goodness me. So that can be detrimental, can't it, if you're taking too many antioxidants?
It can, especially if you haven't had an oxidative stress test to begin with, because you might not have oxidative stress test. It could be that there could be some other issues that that we don't know about that is causing the fertility to be compromised. So having a background knowledge of where you are before you start taking supplements is really, really important. So I think we'd always say try and take a natural balanced diet. That's the first rule of thumb. But we need to determine whether you have got oxidative stress or not, and then that will determine whether you need supplements or not, and how much supplementation you need in order to get yourself back in balance. Yeah,
but it might be because so yeah, you need to get tested. Do I need to take antioxidants? But almost, supplements are there to supplement a diet. So if there's certain food groups you can't eat, or you're missing, or you're on the road a lot and you end up having to grab crap food, then supplements might help support that in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the difficulty here with these supplements, and there's quite a number out there, is that we don't necessarily know for each individual what they're missing. So they could be either slightly insufficient, or they could be very deficient in the number of antioxidants that they have coming from their diet and what they do from a lifestyle point of view. So it's really important to get tested early on to work out how much supplements that they may need in addition to their normal diet.
Yeah. And of course, so too many antioxidants are going to push you into reductive stress, as it's known.
Yep.
So again, it's all always imagine it as a seesaw, and that's always the image I look for when I'm doing anything about oxidative stress. It is about getting that seesaw finely balanced.
Yeah.
And if you have too many oxidants and you push yourself into reductive stress, that turns off some of the functions of oxidative stress that help sperm quality, don't they?
That's right.
So you could be piling in the vitamin C and everything else,
thinking you're doing the world of good.
Yeah. But actually, what you're doing is detrimental to your sperm health as well.
That's right. Well, what you're doing there is changing the protein composition for the functionality of the sperm cells itself. So both reductive stress and oxidative stress has a direct impact on proteins, which is really what's in the seminal plasma. And that is switching off functional activity for that the sperm would normally need to do.
Yeah. He said a whole load of words there.
I don't know. I don't know what I said.
Protein, something about proteins. It did actually go slightly over my head then.
I know, it's about protein expression, which is about the functional elements of what happens in the sperm cells itself. But
he dumbs it down for us, doesn't he?
He
really does.
Yeah, there's a whole
you can
lot
tell
more
this.
I know.
It's like,
Speaking to lay people here.
Yeah. And speaking to Toby and Ian. I keep it simple.
You asked me the question.
But ultimately, it's this science is so important, isn't it?
It is.
For the ultimate health of sperms, and quite rightly you said, live birth rates. So I think the key message of this podcast really is that if it's good to get a baseline understanding of where you are with it by getting an oxidative stress test done, and then understanding then what is your next best route of action to give you the best possible chance, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. But if you do need supplements, choose the best ones.
Yep.
Well, I think
the ones that have been proven and tested.
Yeah, I think that's an important topic here is look at the data, look at the evidence, the clinical research that's gone behind some of the supplements that are out there in the market. And if they're, if they don't have any data, do ask the manufacturers or, try and look it up online because Dr. Google is out there. He'll tell you.
Dr. Google.
Just choose wisely, but choose probably from recommendations from a healthcare professional rather than just picking something up off the shelf or buying it through Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was. I think have we done oxidative stress now?
I think so.
I think that's enough for our little brains.
I think so. My little brain's got little image now of this big warfare field of these little characters that are battling one another, and there's a sperm just trying to swim through to the other end, but there's a little ground war. That's kind of.
I'll tell you what. No, I'll give you another fact. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm right because I was researching. The epididymis, so this is kind of like the final little storage area for sperm.
When they're ready to go.
It's they enter that not fully motile and they leave the epididymis into the vas deferens. They're ready to go. But the epididymis produces antioxidants. Is that right?
It's the collection for the last part of the maturity of sperm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's where sperm will collect all these antioxidants from the body, from the nutritional source. And it's there where they mature into good quality sperm. So if you haven't got
finishing school, for
it's
sperm.
the finishing school for sperm. Yeah,
they learn to stand up straight. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it sounds like the paddock ready to go out for the race.
Let's all get ready to march.
Yeah, bring it back to racing. Yeah, it's the paddock. Yeah,
it sounds like the paddock ready to go out for a race. They're all getting kitted up.
All
getting nervous,
ready to go.
Yeah, engines
big
are
events
started.
coming.
Get the engine warm and all the rest of that. So that is really where you're getting all that energy, that last minute energy before the final journey.
There we go. Brilliant.
I'll never look at race paddock the same again.
Especially all those guys in white suits with white helmets.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dude, that's quite funny.
Oh, brilliant.
Good analogy. I like that.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think that does oxidative stress to the death. I think that's pretty good. But head to our website. We've got news articles that I may have to go back and check that I've written it right, but I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
We've got some animations on our Instagram. We've got some information on our Testament plus supplements to be on the site as well. Yep. And if you've got any questions, just give us a shout, book a consultation. I guess the other thing is, where do men go and get this oxidative stress test? Where do they go and get my Oxys test?
So they're only available in the fertility clinics. So if you're going into a fertility clinic and getting a semen analysis, a diagnostic semen analysis, ask to see whether you can get that sperm oxidative stress test there. So there's a number of clinics out there that do offer the service. And indeed, we'll be offering it through our own service.
In
Excited.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it?
Cool.
Really cool.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. Check out those resources on the website. Check out the free questionnaire as well. Go and do your free questionnaire. Find out if you're doing anything in your lifestyle that may be affecting your oxidative stress levels, and then take action.
Awesome. Well, I think we need a different outro. Maybe we should go reverse. Test in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I was going to give Michael a round of applause.
Well done. You did Thank you. Without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
Well, it's test him 3.
Test him 2.
Test him 1.
There we go. See you later, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.